There are many challenging shots in every round of golf, but none seem to be more difficult than getting off of the tee. It is the first one that you hit on every hole, and it tends to set the tone for those that follow. Whether it's a par 3, 4, or 5, how you get off the tee is a very important factor in how you'll score. So today, our PGA professionals are going to reveal their favorite tips, tactics, and techniques to help you find the fairway more often and give you more confidence when you tee it up. Mike Malaska and Dr. Gary Wyron are two of the country's top teachers, and you'll soon see why as they share their best lessons to help you hit it farther, straighter, and with more consistency than you ever thought possible. You'll also discover routines that will help you practice more effectively and drills that will help you prepare for your next round.
When you're standing here ready to hit a tee shot, it's a good idea to be able to know thyself, meaning that you got to be able to evaluate your drives, your tendencies, because I'm facing a hole now where there is a big bunker on the right, and the wind's blowing a little bit across left to right, and my tendency, let's say, if I were the most common golfer around, it would be to fade or slice the ball a little bit. Well, if that's the case, knowing my tendency, then I'd better adjust to fit that tendency. Now, I start first by my location on the tee. You always tee the ball closest to the trouble. If the bunker's on the right, there's water on the right, there's out of bounds on the right, you tee to the right to hit away from it. So I'm going to tee the ball here on the right side of the fairway. And then, knowing that I tend to slice or fade the ball a little bit, I'm going to aim well up the left side, because I can't tell you how many players I've been with in Pro-Ams who've hit 6, 7 slices right in a row into the woods, and yet they still stand up there and aim down the middle. It makes no sense. So here we are. I'm evaluating. I'm looking up the fairway here, and I'm seeing where I want to drive the ball. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is to talk to you about getting some confidence up here, keeping it simple. One of the great players of all time in the PGA Hall of Fame, his name was Chick Harbert. He won 53 long drive contests on the tour when they used to have them on Tuesdays to bring people out before the tournament started, to get a little gallery out there, and they would have a long drive contest. It was a lot of fun. He could really hit it. And the two of us are playing together one time, and he said, "Gary, would you like the secret to driving the ball in the wind? Because right now we have a wind out here, and sometimes it can be dead into you, sometimes behind you." And he says, "Well, I'll give you." I said, "Sure." And he says, "I'll give you the tip. First of all, driving the ball into the wind. When the wind is in your face, coming this way, what you want to do is just make your very best swing and make solid contact." He says, "Now when you're playing downwind, swinging the other way, what you should do is make your very best swing and make solid contact." It's kind of fun. It's kind of like a joke in a way, but it isn't a joke. It's maybe one of the best things I've ever heard in golf. Instead of trying to do stuff all the time, I'm going to try to do this or keep it here, do that, make your very best swing and make solid contact. How do I do that personally in playing? Well, I like to rehearse, again, the golf swing above the ball when there's no ball there. Back and through. See, free flowing, allowing it to fly, let her go. And when I'm doing that, I'm not thinking about details, I'm not holding back, I'm letting her fly. If I could give the right impression to you about that as far as grip pressure is concerned when you do that, it's kind of like this. You wind up, unwind, and let her go. Now, I threw it right down the middle, by the way. It takes a little bit of practice, but the idea is to not squeeze so much, and that's what I get when I swing it above the ball up here. So, putting it all together, I visualized it. I see what I wanted to see out there. I know my tendency. I know where I'm going to aim it. I get behind. I tee it in the right place. We wind, unwind, let her go, and then go through your routine every time. Grip, distance from the ball, aim, set up, wind, unwind, and let her go. And I hope that is something that will help you to have more confidence when you get on the tee and to be able to hit better tee shots.
Evaluate and improve your drives. Play to your tendencies. Swing steady to maintain rhythm and balance. Go through your pre-shot routine every time.
When it comes to creating posture that gives you the best chance for maximum distance and consistency or control, there's a couple of things that I see most everybody does incorrectly. Now, a lot of it's because, some of it anyways, is because of what you see on TV, and so you end up forcing posture. That's almost as bad posture. So let's talk a little bit about finding the best position for you to be in to give you the best chance to get the most out of your swing. If I take this club and I set it on my back as I'm standing to the ball, and I put the base of the club at the top of my hips, and I let the club just touch the middle of my back, the distance that that club is from my head now, when I bend to the ball, that relationship doesn't change. What I see with a lot of people is one of two things. Either they set up, and as they bend to the ball, they round their shoulders and flex their knees. That puts your back in what they call flexion. So now your spine's really tight and you can't turn, so you'll pull up out of it, all kinds of things. I also see the other mistake where they take their normal posture and they say, oh, I see Tiger and these guys with flat backs, so now I'm going to force a posture, I'm going to get my back flat, I'm going to tip over. Now there's so much tension in your body, you can't move either. So the key here with posture, as far as the bend goes, is you take your normal standing posture, and if you put a club on your back, you put the club on your back, your normal posture. Now the bend is going to come from your hips. So you feel like you push your hips back, then there's a slight flex in your knees, and now because your right hand's going to be a little lower on the club, there's a slight tilt in your spine away from the target, just slight. A little more with the driver than with your irons. So when we get the posture, let's talk about this again, because it's really critical that you understand what happens. If you bend too much from your shoulders, you put your back in flexion. So now it's really tight. It's hard to turn. You make a backswing, you'll lift up out of it. So you can't keep your spine angle or your posture. If you force your posture to where it's not natural, even though it might look pretty good, as you start to swing, there's so much tension, you give out, and now you're out of your spine angle again. So when you get up to the ball, it's going to be like you had a club in your normal standing posture. You're going to bend. Then from there, if I set the club in, a little flex in my knees and a little tilt, now I'm ready to go. That'll give you the best chance to rotate, maintain your spine angle, and hit the best shot you can hit from a very good posture.
Set up for power. Take your normal standing posture, bending at hips. Don't round your shoulders when making bend. Don't unnaturally force your posture.
When it comes to hitting off the tee, most of the time you're going to be hitting a driver. If not, then the longest club that you can hit with confidence. And if you ask the typical golfer what he wants to achieve off the tee, you're either going to hear, I want to hit it farther, or I want to hit it straighter, the holy grail of golf. Neither is impossible to improve in your game if you listen closely to the advice of our PGA professionals. Mike and Gary have some fantastic tips on how to improve your accuracy and distance, and some great drills on how to make you hit it longer and straighter.
Distance. Never met a golfer who wouldn't like to hit the ball a little bit farther. And you know, there are only two factors really which cause distance, and that is clubhead speed and centeredness of contact. Let me show you a few things that'll help you with that, but let me have you understand that this is not kind of hypothetical horse hockey we're talking about. Because at age 47, I hit it 381 yards and 1 foot in National Long Driving Contest and won by over 50 yards. That's a record that stood for some 25 years. So what I'm telling you will work. First of all, let's take a look at the idea of strength and flexibility, because strength and flexibility is the human part that makes this club swing, that gets you to get speed. You see, you can't win the Indianapolis 500 in a Volkswagen. You don't have enough horsepower. You need strength is the horsepower part. Flexibility is the delivery part, so that you can wind it up and unwind it. Now I'm going to take a tool here. This is called an assist. An assist helps me in several ways, actually. One has got a form grip where I can put my hands on in the correct position. It is a weighted club at the end, so that when I swing it, I start picking up extra strength that I would normally not have just swinging a regular golf club. And it has a bend in the shaft that helps kick it over so the club face will square up and release on the other side. So swinging something that is a weighted device. I like to swing also a power swing fan. It's a 4-bladed fan that gives you great strength in your forearms and great technique to rotate through the ball. So strength is an important part of it. This also helps you to stretch. When you swing it back with the weight, it stretches you further. See, some people take it back, they can only get the club back to here, but with a weighted device, it pulls you a little extra farther back. And so for that reason, it's good also. Now the speed part of it. Just to demonstrate it to you so that you can hear what we're talking about, this is like auditory learning. I'm taking a raw shaft and I'm going to swing it with a tight grip. You hear very, very little, maybe a faint sound. As I lighten my grip, you're starting to hear what is speed. It's a whooshing sound. And I'll lighten it even further. Wow, that's really singing right through there. Well, that's part of the technique factor. You can't squeeze something tightly and get speed. So I'm letting it kind of winding it, unwinding, and feeling it a letting go feeling. So that's part of the speed. You can do the same thing with a driver. You can take it and hold it upside down and listen for a whooshing sound. Listen here. Whoosh, you hear that noise? Now, if you're gripping it too tightly, you just won't hear that speed. And therefore, it's important for you to understand that grip pressure has an influence on speed as well. So, we've got centeredness of contact, and we're going to show you exactly where we hit the ball here by putting on a decal on the face, and it'll tell you whether you had centeredness of contact or not. Now this shot was pretty good from the high to low part because the new drivers today actually go a little farther when you hit it slightly above the center. But it's a little toward the heel, and that means that it probably faded a little bit and lost maybe 10 yards. So with those factors, good technique that'll provide you the opportunity not only have a delayed hit at the bottom, and the delayed hit comes this way with a drill. The delayed hit looks as though your club and the shaft, your left arm, the shaft of the club, and right down to the head are a straight line at impact. That is going to be the greatest speed. Most players, because they're trying to hit the ball, release it too early and they have an angle and their greatest speed is back here somewhere. Listen how a high handicapper sounds. You hear a whoosh. Where do you hear it? You hear it back here. They ought to take the tee in the ball and peg it back there. That's where they're getting their greatest speed. But a low handicapper sounds like this. That's where the speed is. It's almost out in front. You see the target's out there. It's not here on the ground. You're trying to swing the club there, and that's where you're going to help you to get that greatest speed. So we've got it put together now with centeredness of contact, with club head speed, with some drills to do it. You're going to be able to deliver a swing that produces a shot, maybe not 381 yards, but a lot further than you've ever hit it. Something like this. So there you have it. The two principles, centeredness and speed, some equipment to do it, some drills to do it. You do those and you're going to increase your drive off the tee.
Here we are on the tee, and now we're going to talk about what everybody wants, which is distance. There's a couple of things, though, you've got to be careful when you try to get distance. Number one, distance doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a really good player, because if you can't find the ball after you hit it, your scores still aren't going to be that good. The reality is, on a 6,000-yard golf course, if you let me just hit 150-yard shots, I'm a single-digit handicap only hitting it that far. Now, my short game's pretty good. So distance is only as important as you can control where the ball goes. But let's get back to maxing out your distance. We've got all this technology. I mean, club manufacturers are phenomenal. They've got these heads, weighted systems. This is the best we can possibly have in technology and golf balls. They've done everything they can do for you. But even then, when you create speed with this club head, you've got to get the speed into the golf ball. That becomes the key. Most of you have enough speed to play at a high level. You don't control the face to max out that speed, so it doesn't get translated into the ball. So if we're going to do that, we got to figure out how can we max out the speed that we have. For that, I'm going to give you a couple of drills so we can get a feel for what we're doing here. When we come to the drills, here's what we're going to do. The first drill is called a balk drill. And what you're going to do is you're going to set up to the ball, you're going to make a back swing, and then come right down to the ball and stop before you hit it. You're going to do that twice. Then the third time you make your backswing and you come down, and instead of stopping, you just let the club accelerate through the ball. Goes like this. Now, if you notice there, I didn't swing really hard. What I did was I squared the club face on the back of the ball. So all of that drill that I was working on was teaching my body to move and my hands and arms to control the face, so I made square impact with the club face to the back of the ball. Now, I'm sure most of you have stood up on a hole where there's a lake out there and you're going to lay up, you've got the wrong club, so you say, oh, I'm just going to swing easy at this one. And you make a swing and hit it, and you're going, oh, no, stop, stop, and it goes in the lake. And you go, I wish I could do that all the time. Well, the reality of that is when you back off to that speed and you square the club face on the ball, you hit it a lot further than you think it would have gone. See, the key here is not to create more effort. Effort doesn't equate into distance. Effort equates into effort. The tour players use about 50% less muscle activity than an average 15 handicapper. So it's about maxing out what you have. Now, we've got another drill here that's going to really help you to take this balk drill another step further. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a swing, and I'm going to hit the first ball 125 yards with a full swing. Then I'm going to hit it 175 with the next one, and then 250 with the last one. Now, what I want you to pay attention here is pay attention to the pace that I take it away and the change of directions. Now, what you're going to notice is they're not going to be any different. The big mistake that most of you make, as soon as we give you this instrument here, you grip it tighter and you want to hit it further, so the instinct is to take it away faster, start it down faster, and then you lose everything at the ball. So you don't hit the ball with your backswing. So the backswing sets you up. So the first one here is going to be 125. Full swing. Carried about 125. The next one, we're going to go out to 175. Now this one we're going to go about to 250. Now again, watch the pace of the backswing and the change of directions. There's not a lot of difference. So when you watch that, where is the speed happening? It's not in the takeaway and it's not in the change of directions. So if you do that and you make a swing and you come back to the ball and you hit it solid, and you finish the swing, you're going to get a lot of distance. So to wrap this whole thing up, here's where we are with this game. To get more distance, you need to maximize the club head speed you already have. To maximize that speed, you first have to understand how to sequence things into the ball. So the balk drill becomes a really good way to feel how to sequence the club face and your body to square it at impact. The last one, to build up the speed, you gradually increase the speed at the bottom, not in your takeaway and not in the change of directions. If you'll spend a little bit of time with those two drills, I think you'll be amazed at how far you can hit the ball. And not only that, you may find it now after you hit it.
Maximum distance off the tee. two keys are club head speed and centerness of contact. Lighten your grip pressure to generate speed. Swing speed should come at the bottom of your swing. Focus on squaring the club face at impact.
Now we're going to talk about accuracy. Accuracy is all about being able to control the club face onto the golf ball. And when I see most people, one major thing they don't understand about accuracy is the ability to control this face. And it basically comes in your lead arm. One drill that I have everybody do when they come to see just how much of this they have, I have them set up. They're going to make a swing with just their left arm and hit the golf ball. When I do that, most really good players, there's no problem. They can do that every single time, 100, 125 yards, the little draw. Most amateurs have no idea and no control of this left arm. And that left arm basically is the one that's controlling and stabilizing the face. Now your right arm is important too. It's putting speed and putting pressure into the back of the shaft, into the back of the ball. But both arms have a role. And if this arm doesn't know what to do, your ability to control or have accuracy goes down dramatically. So let's talk about a drill that all of us can do to try to feel the difference in how that left arm works to hit different shots. What we're going to do, it's just called right hand off after impact. What you're going to do is you're going to make a swing and you're going to come down into the ball, and right about at impact you let your right hand come off. So your left hand has to continue to control the face through the ball. Now the first shot we're going to hit, the left arm's not going to rotate, so it's going to come through and you're going to hit a slice. Most of you will have no trouble with this because you've perfected that move. So you go back, and there's your slice. The next one, you're going to make a back swing. This time you're going to come down and you're going to rotate your left arm right back to square. So this ball is going to go straight. The last one, you're going to set up, you're going to make a back swing, you're going to come down, and you're going to rotate your left arm earlier to make the ball curve to the left. Now you start to have a feel, and because your right side's not so overpowering in the downswing, you start to understand how that left arm rotates through the ball. Now to add to this, one of the big misconceptions about golf is this late release, hold the angle. Well, I'm not going to disagree that that doesn't happen. But what you have to understand is there's some things that you have to feel to make that picture show up and still be able to square the club face on the ball. In a golf swing, as you swing up to the top, your left arm gradually and continually rotates to the top. Now, once you get to the top, when you go to start down, you don't hold the rotation off and at the last minute try to figure out how to flip. That's never going to work. You're up to the top, and when you start down, this left arm gradually and continually is rotating down into the ball. Because you have a club in your hand, as you start down, your left arm and the left side of your body is starting to unwind and rotate, but the club is staying right on plane. Now when the club gets down in here, now you've got all this torque and strength built up, wham, it takes off and goes. So understanding that the left arm rotates to the top and gradually and continually rotates to the ball is an important thing to be able to have accuracy and control the face. That's something that everybody needs to spend a little bit of time practicing. A good way to practice that, just set up with just your left arm with your thumb up, point your thumb in the sky, point your thumb back to the ball so you feel the timing of that rotation. Now, the other misconception that we have relative to accuracy is our lower bodies get so quick. How you use your right leg becomes an important part of being able to be accurate with the golf swing. The right leg, when you get to the top, you're supported here. Now I hear all the time, get off your right side, get to your left. So people end up getting so fast off this leg that the club is so far behind they can't catch up. Your right leg basically from the top, as you start down, this is your support and you're pushing down into the ground. So you're pushing into the ground, this leg is straightening and pressuring the ground. That pushes you up into your left side. But you're continually staying into the ground. You don't want to jump off the ground right out of the top of your swing. If you do, your body will get so far ahead of you, it'll be very difficult to catch the face up. So it's a stabilizer. You push into the ground, and that pressure, this leg is pushing and straightening all the way into the ball. Then your glute muscles contract, then your hips unwind, and your leg stays fairly straight. So if you're trying to drive your knees or jump off your right foot, that's probably a big reason that you're losing a lot of accuracy. So if you'll do that, your base will stay a lot better. It'll make it easier to use your hands and arms. Now, the last thing, you probably wonder why I have a chair here. This chair becomes a very good way for most people to practice, to feel how the club releases in front of them. Now, when you swing a golf club, there's a lot of rotation, but there's a timing of that rotation. It's called acceleration and deceleration patterns. What it means, you start to unwind from the ground, then you slow down in your feet, knees, and hips. Then your shoulders start to catch up, they slow down. Then your arms take off and pass. What most people do is they get to the top and they violently unwind everything, which leaves the club way behind and they can't ever catch the face up. When you sit in a chair, if I were to sit in a chair and make a swing, it's very difficult for me to jump my hips and my body way too far. I can make a little bit of move. This is support. My shoulders start, but then they slow down and give me time to catch up with my hands and arms. That little move right there, the timing of that is what you see in all good players when they're standing up. So if you just sit in a chair and make some swings, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit 3 balls. I'm going to start and hit the first ball. I'm going to hit it about 125 yards. So I'm going to make a back swing. It's about 125. Now we're going to set up here a little closer to this next. Now I'm going to make this one go about 175. Now, as I'm swinging, I'm creating a little more speed, but if you can see, my hips aren't jumping way out ahead of it. I'm making a little more swing. I'm setting my base, so I've got something to hit up against, and then my arms are accelerated past my chest. You can't pull the club through with your chest. Now we're going out to about 225. So I'll make a little better backswing. Stay braced. Now I had a little more follow through, but the follow through came because of the momentum of the club. When it comes to creating distance and accuracy, and you're looking for both, the accuracy comes in your ability to control the face. If your body gets too active before your hands and arms know what to do, you'll never be very accurate with your shots. So make sure you practice both distance and accuracy, because without both, you really can't play that well.
It's great to be able to hit long drives, but I must admit that during my career, I got beat quite often by gentlemen that could hit it only within 40 yards of where I was hitting it off the tee. But they were consistent, they were accurate. So accuracy is extremely important in golf because remember, the final resting place you want for your ball is only 4 1/4 inches in diameter. So what we're going to do now is talk to you about the 2 things that cause the ball to go straight or to its target. And those are path and face. Path. I'm going to use a tool here called a self-teaching board. The self-teaching board gives me, with colors on it, gives me a picture, a visual of the path that the club should take. You see, rather than getting into details and say, now, drop your arm here and put your hand there and do this, move your body here. If you can swing this club, visually see it go over green to blue, then you are swinging your club from the inside. And why from the inside? Because when you swing from the outside, you've thrown away some of your power already. When you swing from the inside, you're still retaining your power until the last moment, the moment of truth, and that's when you release it. Now to do that, to come from the inside, you need to be looking at the green, your club going over the green, and toward the blue. You say, wait a minute, that doesn't look like inside, down the line inside, that looks like inside out. But it really isn't. There's a factor here called parallax. And parallax means that because you're standing in an angle away from it, what you see is not what you actually have happening with the club head. What you need to see is inside to over to the outside in order for it to go inside down the line into the target. So I practice over the self-teaching board, green to blue, green to blue. It's amazing how I can get a student who's swinging from red to yellow, the slicers and the short hitters path, red to yellow, and say, well, I put the self-teaching board down there, I'll see you in 15 minutes, keep practicing green to blue and hit some shots. It's a self-teaching board, so you can do it without having to be someone there to tell you. I also can do this. I put 3 tees out here in front of my shot that I'm going to hit, and I can swing the club so that it comes from inside and out over the tees. Now, to see it coming from the inside, I've made my ball have the lines to make a quadrant on it. And the idea is hit the inside quadrant right here. That means your club has to be coming from the inside in order to hit the ball. So a teaching board like this, which is a learning aid, or something you have right in your bag, either way, gets you to get the right path. Now, what about the face? Well, here's the most popular teaching aid in the world for golf professionals. 75,000 of these have been sold, and golf professionals use them for all kinds of things, but the basic idea was always the same, which was to get the club face back to the moment of truth. Not only the club face, but your body. You can sense, because it has resistance, where are my arm, where are my feet, where's my balance, where's my head. I can feel at that very moment, if I am there, when I strike the golf ball, it's going to go straight. So I put the two together like that. Put the bag over the board. We put some support behind the bag. When I'm teaching, I simply put my foot back there, or we put some raw shabs there, and the student stands here and swings green to blue, inside to square, inside to square. The inside quadrant of the ball, out over the blue, and out to the target. When you do that, you'll be amazed how much more accurate you will be, because you have learned the moment of truth for accuracy.
Secrets to tee box accuracy. The key to controlling face at impact comes from the right arm. To generate feel, hit balls by releasing the backhand at impact. The swing should come from the inside. To practice, divide the ball into 4 equal parts and aim for the inside rear quadrant.
I'm on the tee of a demanding par 4, and the distance that I need to hit it doesn't necessarily suit my driver. In the game of golf, a lot of strokes are wasted not by what happens from the tee to the green, but by what happens between these. Ben Crenshaw once said that the most important distance in the game of golf is the distance between your ears. Poor decisions up here lead to poor club selection, poor strategy, and inferior course management. What I see a lot in Pro-Ams is players walk up onto the tee of a par 4 or par 5 and automatically reach for the driver, tee it up in the middle of the tee, and aim down the middle of the fairway, when they might be better off with a 3-wood, teeing up on either side of the tee, aiming away from the middle of the fairway. Remember when Mike discussed using your tendencies? Well, that is an important factor in managing the golf course instead of letting it manage you. Now let's join Mike for a valuable lesson on how to use the most important distance in the game to your advantage.
Now we're going to talk about strategies. One of the biggest mistakes I see with amateurs is they come up to the tee, they automatically walk up here with the driver. They don't even look at the hole or take into account how they're playing. It's a par 4 or a par 5. I'm just going to stand up and hit driver. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make. So I've played this golf course before, and so I know that there's some strategies that I need to use. When I'm looking at this card, I notice that, okay, the hole is 390 yards long, all right, but I also know there's a lake down there, and there's also a slope. So I could hit driver, but I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm not playing that well that day, or I'm not hitting my driver that well. And the other question is it really worth hitting? For most people, if you can just get the ball somewhere within 150 yards of the green, you're going to be pretty good. If you try to get it a lot closer, you bring in the risk of, can you control the driver, and how does the hole affect you? In other words, is there a lake down there? You know, what's going on? Do you have to be really precise with your shots? You don't have to hit driver off every hole that's a par 4 or a par 5. In fact, most of the good players in the world don't do that. They're playing to their strengths, and they're using strategies to play the hole to the best of their ability based on how they're playing that day. So don't just assume because you're coming up to the tee that it's a driver because it's a par 4 or par 5. That may not be the club to hit. Now, what we need to do is we need to find out what's out there so we know what club it is we're going to use off this tee and what gives us the best chance for success. This hole has a very wide fairway, so there's a lot of room here if you go to the right spot. Now, if you look at the hole from the tee, what you can see is we're sloped down to the 150. Now, from the back tee, I can get to that 150 with about a 4 or 5 iron. Because of all the slope in the fairway, I don't have to hit it that total distance. It's going to run all the way down to that 150 marker. Now, at the 150-yard marker, I have about 60 yards wide of fairway to hit to. That's a lot of room. If I go another 50 yards further or 40 yards further, if I try to hit my driver, yeah, it'd be nice to be up around 100 yards, but now I only have about 20 or 25 yards max of fairway to hit to, and then I've got water and trees. So this hole, it's not worth the risk to hit the driver. Even if you hit it well, you're not guaranteed of a birdie. All right, now we understand what the hole's all about. So we know where the lake is, we know where the 150 is. We also have seen that there's a big drop off in the fairway, which is going to make the ball run a lot further. Now I have a couple of options here. I can try to hit the driver.